Hello guys, and welcome to another replay analysis. This is another diamond level lesson here. We got some ZvP, Zerg versus Protoss. And in these replay analysis, guys, basically what we do is we look at the guy's perspective that we're identifying here, and we tell him what he's doing right, what he's doing wrong, how can he improve. It's a quick coaching lesson. Not so much emphasis on the word quick. They still usually take like 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, so Mr. IFAC, what's up, dude? How you doing, man? What's your build gonna look like? What's it look like, dude? Okay, 17 hatch. Looks like it's gonna be that. Okay, already you fucked up. Send one of your 2 eggs that spawn between 15 and 16 supply, not drone 17. Okay, you're not doing it anyways. You're going pool first. My question to you now would be, what is the purpose of this pool? My guess would be you're afraid of cannon rushes. And I would say you don't need to be afraid of cannon rushes. Or like either that or you're afraid of proxy 4 gates. You can deal with either one of those things super easy if you just know what to do. And all you're doing to yourself right now is you're putting yourself in a massively negative position in terms of your economy. I mean, maybe you play this guy and you're trying to meta him, and he does it all the time or some shit like that, but yeah. And you're going gas as well before you expand. Okay, this is a very crappy economy. This is not a good economy. Yo, Fabs, thank you very much for the 5-month sub, dude. Welcome back. And I 15 out of 16 on the mineral line, and you're making lings. Yeah, dude, this is excessive. Now, this I do not. If you were to tell me this is for aggression, I'd be like, your build could be so much better if you made a pool faster. You're not going to really force anything out of the Protoss like this. And honestly, I even think early pools are weak against Protoss just in general for the most part. Because when you start playing Protosses who know how to defend themselves, they'll never die to it. And the reason why they'll never die to it is because their micro defensively will be good enough to handle it. And they will always scout it. It will never go unscouted. Ever. You're doing a roach horn. Oh, geez, Louise. Okay. We'll just talk about what you're doing. So you're going for an all-in, obviously. Now, I don't care then. Like, so, okay. It's like semi-all-in. It's semi-all-in. I would honestly say I would rather see you build a faster pool, a faster roach horn, and a faster gas, a later natural, make an initial round of units faster to pressure him, and then rotate out of that into a natural and go back into macro afterwards. If you're going to do something like this. And the reason why I would recommend that is because you just now started your roach horn. His core is done. By the time you get your roach horn done and then get roaches made and then get across the map, 100% this dude could have either Void Rays or fucking Immortals. You waited so long to build a roach horn. Your build just makes no sense. It doesn't really hit an aggressive window, and it doesn't have any good macro capabilities. So if this is, again, a defensive roach horn, this is god-awful. This is a really inefficient build. I hope you're going to be aggressive. But even then, like, it's going to suck. Because it's so late. What league is this? This is Diamond League. This is Diamond. Your opponent made 2 zealots. You freaked him out because you had an early pool. But if this guy would have... So that, like, those 2 zealots, I would say, is this guy freaking out. If he would have paid attention, he would have known that this is not a 12 pool because he did scout you. He did scout you. He did not need to make a zealot with how early or how late your pool was. You did not go 12 pool. You went 17 pool. Which is much later because you have to build an overlord in there as well. Okay, so you make roaches now that are just sitting there defensively. Yeah, I don't like this build, man. IFAC. So I have to say this. I'm still gonna do this. I'm still gonna do this replay. We'll still talk about it. But I have to say this because this is a real thing in StarCraft 2. If your opener sucks, the rest of your game will suck. That's just how the game works. If your opener is not efficient, your whole build is not going to be efficient. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't win or lose. That's indirectly not the same thing. But it does mean that your build is very, very bad. This build sucks. So we can still talk about how to go from here, but you are so far behind in so many ways now where you should be. Just for yourself. You guys remember what I said about the 66 drone rule by 6 minutes? We're just gonna speed it up to 6 minutes for a second here and just watch. Let's look at the drone count at 6 minutes. We're talking 34 drones at 6 minutes. So, and I know some drones are dying in the main to like a depths or some shit just happened. You did lose a few drones in the main, but both of you have awful worker counts right now. If either one of you just macroed properly, neither one of your builds was like, oh god, I'll just die if I macro. Like, neither one of you went one base all in. Even if it was one base all in, you could just scout that and go, okay, I'll play a little bit more defensive because it's one base all in. But if it's two base awkwardness, two base adept, two base void ray, two base awkward roaches, either one of you could have macroed and gotten so far ahead. You're at almost literally +1 drone over half of what you should be at right now. And that's not even, honestly, 66 drones isn't even just what you should be at. You should be at 66 drones with all of your gas as well, which means you should actually have 68 because you would then lose 2 of your drones to make 2 gases with. And you could then also get ready to start your 4th base and shit like that. And you can do whatever you want there, like roaches or whatever you want to do. Your economy is fucking really bad now. Like, this game is now a mess. And it's the reason why I have to stress this. We'll keep going from here. We'll talk about the game. But this game is kind of like a void game now because this is never how your game should just develop. There was nothing that forced you to play this way. You chose to play this way, and your build was so fucking bad. I mean, and he knows... he also knows... Like, I know he knows as well. I've showed him builds that are good before. So just go back to a build that's actually proper and good. We'll talk about what to do from here, though. But... I seriously have to stress that so much because, like, everything we're going to talk about right now it should be irrelevant. It should be irrelevant. Like, this build is so far behind. It's so bad. Yeah. You have to know that. This is the problem why people get stuck in lower leagues forever. Because someone who plays this game, IFAC may or may not have thought this, but in general, someone who plays a game at lower leagues literally will play a game like this and their build will get diluted to this point and they will think that it is still standard. They'll be like, oh, well, 6 minutes, yeah, I'm looking good. I have 80 supply right now. I'm looking good. I'm looking fine. 34 drones at 6 minutes is a fucking train wreck. That's big problems. Okay. Now, anyways. So, essentially, what we're going to be talking about now, this is what we're going to be talking about now. We're going to be talking about how to play a game that is awkward. That's now what this is going to become. That's basically what the replay analysis video will be called. How to play an awkward mid-game. How to identify what to do in an awkward mid-game. Okay. But you could totally have avoided this if you just played macro efficient. So right now what you should be doing is you should be droning. 100% you should be droning. And you should be spreading creep. Like crazy. You are droning. You just supply blocked for a second.
Evolution complete. Queen birth successful.
Okay. So here's what I would say too. So this is the second time this prism has attacked you. Okay? And if you're going to go into the phase where you're going to just straight up go drone crazy, if that's the phase of the game you're in, a great way to do that, if you're also worried about something like a potential prism, I would definitely say put half of your roaches in your main base and put half of your roaches on the side of your third base, like right here. Like right there would be perfect, and right there would be perfect. And why is that? Because you're not doing anything anyways. And if you had your roaches split 50-50 and he attacked your third or he attacked your main, you could easily defend this with half your roaches. And if it looked like you couldn't, you could easily have half your roaches initiate the fight and then kill units while some of your roaches die, while your other half of roaches reinforce and come across the creep and get back and reinforce the other side. But leaving your bases open like this on the sides is just asking to take more drone damage. Yeah, your drone count right now is abysmal. Right now you have 35 drones to 43 probes at 7 minutes almost. And I know you have 10 in production, but this is what this means is, in the future of this game, if you ever run into a situation where you're like, oh, my opponent has a strong army, how do I kill that? It's because of situations like this right now that fuck you over, where it's like, you need to have more money to kill that. You need way more money. And you just don't have it, because you have no drones. Your creep spread is also kind of like not doing anything. So, again, I would say best thing you can do is split your roaches 50-50, make drones, and make overlords. And now you saw a carrier. That was a good scout, by the way. That was I'll praise you on that. That was a good scout. You actually see a carrier. So now what I would say you should do, now, you should honestly put an overlord right here. Spread your creep on this side. Grab your extra queens. And I would say probably leave your queens in your natural. And send your roaches across the map. Here's why this makes sense. I would tell you to drone right now, and I would tell you to take a little bit of a risk because this guy's going for fucking really fast Sky Toss now. And Sky Toss is expensive, so even if he does do a Warp Prism pressure to you, he's not going to have tons of money to... First of all, he doesn't have mass gateways. Second of all, Sky Toss is expensive, so he's not going to be able to warp in mass units either out of his little gateways. He's not going to be like chronoing 4 gates or some shit and going warp-ins. Like, he's not going to do that. You should be able to tell right now with the amount of money that he has, because he's on 2 bases still, for the time being, that his money is kind of limited. It is. You should feel that way. You shouldn't feel like this guy can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have 10 fucking gateways or something. So if I were you, I would send my roaches across the map to his third base that it looks like he's going to take right now. He might already have even started it. He did. I would send my roaches across the map and I would try to deny this base before the carriers popped out. I would use my queens to deny future Warp Prism pressure. I would spot Warp Prism pressure here with an Overlord, and I would spot it over here with Creep spread. My tumors would spot it if it came this way or this way or this way, whatever. Your creep should definitely be priority. It should have been for a while now. It should definitely be further than it is. You kind of neglected the creep for like over a minute. And then you're still droning behind this. And what this could turn into is you could make a Spire. Once you have a good drone count, once you actually don't have like a lot of larvae sitting there, and you can afford a Spire, make the Spire, and you can turn this into Zergling Corruptor. Easy peasy. You're going Hydras. So, I mean, we'll talk about Hydras now. Corruptors is an option. I would say it's definitely a great option. If your opponent's going to rush Sky Toss like this, Corruptors fucking own. They're super good because he's not going to have Archons. There's no Archons here. So, if you make Corruptor, it's insanely good for your Zerg. But if you want to go Hydras, in my opinion, it's the weaker option. It's better if he also has Archons, but he doesn't have enough money to really afford Archons and carriers right now. Just throwing it out there. That's why Corruptors are good. But since since you're going Hydras, it's fine. I would still say everything is still the same. But if you're going to go Hydras, what I would tell you to do then is probably get double Evo Chambers Go for armor and weapon upgrades. Still try to. So here's what we should do. Like, let me just start over so you're not confused. Like with if we're going to talk about hydras, step 1, make drones. Step 2, roaches attack his third base. Step 3, put queens in the center with scouting with here with an overlord, and with scouting over here with creep. So your queens can reinforce wherever the warp prism goes if he decides to attack you again with it. Step 4, once you're fully saturated on 3 bases, if you feel nervous about getting attacked, you can make some hydras. Otherwise, take a 4th base as well and saturate your 4th base. And then you go 1-1 hydra speed and range. And you can then, once you have a good overall a good economy, you can make lots of hydras and go into like a 2-2 timing, and you can make this game all about never letting the Protoss have a 3rd base. That is what you should be doing right now. If you don't move out with your roaches and you just sit here and you just let him have a free 3rd base and possibly a free 4th base later on, it's gonna be dicey for you because we'll see how you play it off. But if you're gonna play, if you're just gonna play defensive with roaches, you should be going guaranteed 4 base economy right now. Guaranteed 4 base economy if your roaches do not deny his 3rd base. If you do go deny his 3rd base, it's questionable based on what you see if you should make hydras or roaches again as you kill his 3rd base.
Swarm forces under attack.
And since your roaches are defensive, if I see you make any fucking hydras right away, that's bad. Because you're going to make them and they're not going to do anything. They're going to just sit there. So you should be taking a 4th base. Anywhere you want, wherever you took it, would be fine. You should be taking a 4th though, and you're going Spire now. You should be taking a 4th, and you should be going into just drones. You're tunnel visioning the warp prism as well. You're gonna have a lot of drones, or I'm sorry, a lot of larvae kind of chilling again, and you're about to have more. You have 10 larvae again. Your supply blocked as well. There we go. What are you gonna make? Please don't make hydras. No hydras, no roaches either. Drones. Make drones. Make something. You have 11 larvae. Okay, you're making drones. Good. This is really late, but you're making drones. Your 4th base is super late. Again, you have to make that choice a lot faster. You should have a trigger in your brain that exists that goes, oh, my opponent's taking a 3rd base. How am I going to react to this? Attack it or expand against it? You should have taken this 3rd base or this 4th base the second you saw the probes going over there, which was like seriously like at 6.5 minutes. Like your 4th base is so late, and your creep also has not moved again really. Your creep is like very untouched. Okay. I do think it's better to go Corruptor still. I would say it's still better to go Corruptor. And I would say you still haven't made the wrong move here. The only thing I think you've done wrong is your roaches are defensive. Like, they don't need to be. Really, like, if you're going to go Corruptor especially, they really don't need to be defensive. Because Corruptor is all about... Corruptor is extremely... Like, all Zerg styles are about starving the Protoss. That is how Legacy of the Void should be played. If you can starve your opponent, you should definitely be doing that. And if you scout, the fact that your scout was good, but your reaction to the scout was bad. You scouted Skytoss early, like ridiculously greedy, fast Skytoss. Like he's rushing the Skytoss super quick. That's great that you figured that out super early, but you're doing nothing to punish him for it because there's nothing he could have done to stop your roaches if you just killed his 3rd base. So these roaches are literally just sitting with their thumbs up their ass doing nothing. And they're going to keep doing that the whole game until they eventually just suicide and die on some carriers. At some point. Now your Carapace is... Oh, yeah, sorry, your Spire is done. You should definitely be starting Carapace immediately because you know he's going Skytoss and you're making Spire for the purpose of going Corruptor. Start that shit ASAP. You should still be making drones, by the way. Because you've allowed him to have a third base fully saturated, so you should have a fourth base as a response to this. I'm not going to say it's the worst thing ever that you made Corruptor, because he could just poke you with like 2 carriers. But you really need to make drones. How many larvae do you have again? You're not spending your larvae again. You have 12 larvae. And counting. Like, larva capping like crazy here. I feel like you're just super indecisive.
Swarm forces under attack.
Also, I don't know why. Did you rally to attack him? I don't know why you moved out either. You should. This is not the time to attack him. Let's look at and see what you did with your Corruptor exactly. Yeah, okay, so they spawn and then you just start flying across the map. Yeah, this is definitely not the time to attack him. Now, like I said, I was like, it's okay if you make a few Corruptors for the exact reason he's doing. He's flying 3 carriers across the map. But what you should be doing is grouping up your extra queens right now with your Corruptor and guarding your creep. Like, you should be centralized, like, here with your Corruptor queen. And wherever he chooses to attack you, you go defend that. It could be in the side of your main base. It could be over here at your 4th base. It could be over here like where the key is. You need to group up with your queens and your Corruptor. And if you fight him like that, you can it's easy as fuck to focus fire a carrier and transfuse the Corruptor that's getting shot. You would not lose like with this many transfuses, you would not, I guarantee you wouldn't even lose a single Corruptor. And then you would kill the first carrier. And you wouldn't even lose a single you would kill the second carrier, and you still wouldn't lose a Corruptor. And by then, you might be kind of low on energy on your queens, and maybe the last carrier might be able to pick off a Corruptor because especially he's got +1 weapons, maybe. But even then, I feel like there's a really good chance you wouldn't even lose a single Corruptor if you just transfused whatever Corruptor was getting shot, and you timed it relatively well. Like, Corruptor Queen is going to fucking own these carriers if you just group them up and focus fire. And you should be also bigger than that. The bigger situation than that is I don't know what would prompt you to attack him right now. There's 0 prompt to attack him because number 1, you're super fucking far. Okay, I'm not gonna say fuck anymore. I promise. I'm never mad, but I feel like whenever I swear a lot, people think I'm angry or something. You're super far behind with how little drones you had earlier in the game. And you should be able to identify that. Your build was very, very far behind. It was super far behind. It was really bad. So if you're really far behind and you're going into the mass drone phase, you definitely do not. It's not time to go attack him now. That's how you throw the game away. So definitely don't do that. Like the fact that these Corruptors are flying like this up into the carrier it's really bad, first of all. But my bigger question is why is there even an idea to go across the map with them right now? It's pointless. Like, it's actually going to lose every time no matter what you find, you're always going to lose these Corruptors. There's never a situation where they're going to do something good. Ever. Because you're behind, and he's been going Sky Toss longer than you've been going Corruptors.
Mineral field exhausted.
So, you just lost 6 Corruptors, and he just lost 2 carriers. And he burned a recall. That is actually better for Protoss. Because 6 carrier and 6 Corruptor and 2 carrier is the same supply cost, but it's more resource cost for Zerg. And if you're behind already in workers, like where you were, you're behind for so many reasons. Number 1, the first reason why you're behind, this is going to be this is going to be a reiteration of what we just talked about. You were behind in your economy. You are still behind by not allowing yourself to have a lead, which you fucking need really badly, because you never denied your opponent's third base and you invested into roaches. All these things are adding up really hard right now. Like, you're losing money because you're allowing him to have too much and you had too little early on. You're not abusing the fact that he just took a third and you could have now taken a fourth. And you just threw away more resources than what carriers are worth. One carrier is worth 350, 250. 3 corruptor, which is the same supply cost as 1 carrier, is worth 450, 300. So it costs 100 more minerals and 50 more gas for equal trades of supply. And you traded equal supply there, which meant you lost 200 more minerals and 100 more gas than he did. So you lost 300 more resources in this trade just now, which is bad. Like, that adds up again with you falling further behind. Don't be misleading. Don't let this be misleading where you're like, but I'm still super far ahead, Vibe. You're Zerg, you should be ahead. You have mass roaches. This is super supply inflating. They're garbage. These roaches honestly are they've kind of missed their opportunity to be effective at this point.
Mineral cluster.
They could have been effective around 6 minutes, but they've been sitting here ever since then. I'm glad you're making more drones though. Thank God. That's good.
Mineral
Your opponent definitely doesn't macro the fastest himself either. He's at 100 supply at 10 minutes. That's not the greatest. And now, you should be able to tell this on the minimap as well. I can already tell. I already know he's got a 4th base. Like, your scouting is not bad, but your reactions to your scouts are bad. I know he has a 4th base. So if you fly your corruptors into his main base, you should... This is not a great idea, I would say, right now. Because you shouldn't feel like you're ahead. You should not feel like you're ahead right now. There's 0 reasons why you should be. If your opponent was better than he is, you definitely would not be ahead. Your opponent is like super slow. But what we just saw was we saw probes going like this. Rotating down. I don't even have to guess. I know there's a Nexus right here. I haven't even seen this replay. I haven't even seen the Nexus yet in this replay right now. And if I hit everyone's vision, there's going to be a Nexus right here. The reason why I know that is because I saw it on the minimap, probes rotating repeatedly to his 4th base. It wasn't just one probe. It was like probe, 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 probe. It was like 7 probes. Repeatedly going probe, 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 just going down to the 4th base. So I feel like you're just not paying attention to the minimap at all if you have no idea that this exists. And if you fly into his main right now, I guarantee all that's going to happen is you're going to compromise your corruptors. This is not... There's 2 reasons why this is not the time to do this. Number 1, all the reasons we've talked about up to this point, why you're not ahead in economy. You didn't trade well earlier, and you're not ahead in economy in any way. Because you finally now have 4 bases, but so does he. So this is still not good for you. The second reason why this is an awful idea to attack him like this right now is because you're behind in upgrades. You saw the Protoss had 1-0 the first time you fought him if you clicked on his carrier. He had level 1 weapons already, and you did not have Carapace yet. You still don't have Carapace done yet. It's almost done, which is... I'm glad you're getting it. That's good. But the point I'm trying to make here is Protoss will always be ahead of you if they rush Skytoss like this in upgrades for yours versus theirs. And the only way it ever makes sense to do an attack like this is if you're massively ahead in supply and economy. And you know, you're like, well, he might be 2-0 when I'm 1-0. But I'm going to have, like, it's not going to be an equal trade carrier to corruptor. I'm going to have, like 30 corruptors to his 6 carriers. And you know what an equal trade is there? 18 corruptors to 6 carriers. That's equal supply. But if I have 30 corruptor versus 6 carrier, that's not equal. That's much more in the Zerg's favor. Much more in the Zerg advantage. And that makes sense if you have more economy. If you played the economy advantage game, that could totally be realistic. But I guarantee what's going to happen right now is you're going to fly into his base, and you're going to lose all your corruptors, or you might kill like 1 unit and lose a lot more than 3 corruptors. I guarantee you're just going to lose more than you're going to kill here. I guarantee it. Oh Jesus, dude! This is even the this is the worst thing you could do. Just play patient. Pissing on a fleet beacon is not worth how much money you're gonna lose here. Cause let me tell you how to think about this logically, okay? Let me tell you to think about this logically. Look at his Stargates right now. There's 1 Stargate producing, and there's 3 Stargates inactive. What does that tell you? Either he's got really bad macro, or he doesn't have enough money to produce units anyways. Because again, he might have bad macro in other ways. But the point is, most likely, he doesn't have enough money to keep these Stargates pumping the whole time, because he just doesn't. So you're kind of doing him a favor right now by killing this fleet beacon, because he can just rebuild it, and by the time it's done a second time, he can just restart all production of all Stargates. Because he can't even if you don't kill this fleet beacon, he's not going to be producing stuff out of the Stargates anyways, really, because he can't afford it. Like, they're already inactive. And all you're doing right now is you're throwing away all of your gas, because you're resetting your corruptor count again. A fleet beacon, by the way, is 300 minerals and 200 gas. Right? I'm not wrong on that. Yeah. You know what that is? That is the cost of 2 corruptors. That fleet beacon is equivalent to the cost of 2 corruptors. Now, how many are you sending into his base right now? 12. 12 corruptors. And you don't kill the Void Ray or anything. You just start peeing on it right away. You just lost 12 or you lost 10, sorry. I still have 4 select somehow. Or you have 4, like, so they just didn't go die. You just lost 8 corruptor. You lost 8 corruptor. You killed 0 things there. That wasn't even a good idea in the first place. There's 0 reason to do that right then, because you didn't even have an advantage in corruptor count. And you shouldn't feel like you have an advantage in corruptor count, because you have had a fucking awful economy up to this point in this game. Again, it's going to keep coming back to bite you repeatedly, because that is the difference of a good to a bad game. Good economy versus bad economy. Bad economy is never going to be like, let's attack. Let's do a standard game now. Nothing makes sense then, because you're so far behind in every way. The only way to really come back from a game when you're behind is to draw out longer. Turtle more. Be more defensive. Buy yourself more time to get back in the game more. So you just threw away 800 gas and 1,200 minerals. You threw away 2,000 resources right there, to kill a 500 resource building, which was 300 minerals and 200 gas. You did kill the fleet beacon, but you threw away 2,000 resources to do it. You took a trade that is 4 times worse than what you invested. It'd be like literally like me paying someone $20 for them to give me back $5. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, yeah, it's brutal. That's rough, dude. Oh shit. So that's another thing again that's going to put you deeper into a hole. And now you're going back into Roach Hydra. You have no game plan right now. This game is already over. We'll keep watching, but this game is already over now. Because Roach Hydra, Corruptor at least can deal with Skytoss when Skytoss is maxed out, and you have like a decent controlled army of like Broodlord, Infestor, Corruptor, anything like that. Maybe throw in a few ultras in there if he's got like very few Archon and it's just like Templar only. A couple ultras actually are not bad there too if you have Carapace upgrades, but if you don't have Carapace upgrades, probably don't do that. Just go Broodlord. But my point I'm trying to make here is if you were going to go Roach Hydra, you should have done it before you even made a Spire. And if you're going to go Spire, just fucking stop being so impatient with your units. 2 times in a row you were impatient with them. You threw them into the carriers and took a bad trade, and then you threw them into a fleet beacon and took a bad trade. But now, I honestly see you just dying. Because if you go Roach Hydra now, you have not been investing in upgrades at all this entire game so far, which is what we talked about earlier too, if you remember. If that was going to be your plan, you should, you know he's going Scythos, you need to get upgrades early. And then you would have been starving him out, never let him have a third base, so his army never gets scary. But you're like, now that he has an economy and he also has a major upgrade advantage, all that's going to happen if you go Roach Hydra now, which you are, is you're going to walk across the map and you're going to die. There is zero way this wins. Like, you don't even have upgrades either for Hydras. So, like, even if you did, it wouldn't matter.
Mineral
Because
exhausted.
you're not going to break his bases with his carriers and shit. Like, the only way you'd break it is if you already were doing it, like, right now. If you were, like, already maxed out right now on Roach Hydra and you were already here right now hitting his base with, like, 30 Hydras and 15 Roaches. Or something like that. You would break him then. But you're not going to have a maxed out Roach Hydra army for at least, like, another fucking minute. And even then, it's not going to have any upgrades. And you're going to give him so much more time to make so much more units. The only thing you have a chance for here, honestly, is that this guy somehow thinks Void Rays are good. And he keeps making mass Void Rays. He already is making carriers, and he goes back to making Void Rays again. Like, what? Doesn't make that's awful for Protoss. That's the only chance you have here.
Yeah.
The fact that he's making voids. He would probably say, "Well, I'm making voids because you killed my fleet beacon." Just fucking remake your fleet beacon and make carriers, dude. Voids suck ass, so bad. Yo, Darls Barkley, thank you for the 2-month resub, dude. Appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And the fact that you have any roaches in your army at all, honestly, is not great. Because he's not going hybrid. He's going full-on Skytoss. Like, these are still the same units from the Prism at the beginning of the game. He is not making any ground units. It's all air.
Creep tumor under attack.
What is this attack, dude? This game is crazy.
Under attack.
You should definitely be killing that base right now with your roaches. Definitely kill this base through the roaches. The way you should look at StarCraft 2 in situations like this is imagine if there was like a clock above your opponent's head, and every time you let your opponent have another base, add 8 minutes to the game time. Like if for instance, if you both have like a clock above your head when the game starts, and it says like 8 minutes above your head, if you expand, 16 minutes. If you take another base, add another 8 minutes to it whenever he takes that base. If he takes another base, add another 8 minutes to it when he takes that base. Literally add 8 minutes to the game every time your opponent expands. So, for instance, the fact that he just took a fifth, you can guarantee up until just after 20 minutes, this dude is going to be rich. Full production. So if you could kill it, you would go back to this one, which was taken about 2 minutes ago, which means this dude he would still be rich until about 18 minutes, and then he would start struggling. If you never let him take this base, he took this base around like 3 minutes, that would have been around 11 minutes he would have started struggling. Now, why is it like that? Because you start mining your patches out in this game really fucking fast. Like, look at these patches. 100 is left on that one. 45 is left on that one. This base has literally 1 minute left until some of these patches start disappearing. And if he was still stuck on 2 bases, this guy's economy would suck. It would be hot garbage. Super bad. And that's what Roach Hydra could do, because you could hit these high supply thresholds really fast to not let him expand. The fact that he has these bases is bad for you. Super bad. It's super bad for you. I feel like you're just clueless as to what to do, and it's all about not letting your opponent just have all the money in the world. Deny their expansions, because this is, again, another 8 minutes just got added onto it. This dude is now going to be, not just in the game, he's going to be rich. He's going to be very wealthy until 20 minutes now. It's not like, oh, he's going to have economy. It's okay. It's like 50% of how good it could be. No, it's like 100% slamming out good economy until 20 minutes now. Because he's expanding at a relatively decent rate. This is his 5th base by 12 minutes. It's not bad. And you're playing a low-tech style. He's playing a high-tech style. How many drones do you have? You have a good drone count. You're fine. No more drones. You need to... definitely be making Hydras, and you need to go kill expansions. So you're going to win this fight because he doesn't have anything right now. Like, again, why did your opponent attack you with voids and like one carrier? I don't know, dude. He's crazy. He threw the game right there. And why is he still making void rays? I don't know. That's what I said. That's like your saving grace. If this guy knew what he was doing as well, you'd be fucking dead right now. Just stop making void rays. They suck ass. Like, it's just to start up your expansions. It's not to kill your opponent. Void rays are the worst units. Anyways, you have a chance now. So if you actually kill this expansion, 8 minutes gone again. It's gone. So it goes back down to the 18-minute mark. Super good for you. And it also means he wasted resources to invest into this base. That's really nice for you. If you could somehow kill this base, he would go back down now to like maybe a 15-minute mark threshold. Where up until 15 minutes he'll be rich and then he'll be struggling. You should not be winning this. I feel like this is misleading because you're like, well, it's working. What I'm doing is actually owning. It's definitely not. It shouldn't. It is, but it shouldn't be. Whew, this game. Oh shit, dude.
Evolution. Mineral field exhausted.
I'm glad that you have. I am glad though that you have emphasis to break the expansion. That is what you should be doing. Definitely. Now, as soon as you break this expansion, you know what you should be doing at the same time? There's 2 things you should be doing. Or really 3 things you should be doing, okay? Number 1 is obviously macroing. We're going to look at your macro really fast. This base, a little oversaturated. You can fix that. These queens, we'll talk about them in a second, okay? But this base, 3 drones over. This base, 6 drones over. This base, 2 drones over. So 3, 6, 2. That's 11, right? Yes, that's 11. You could have 11 drones on this base right now. To 14 out of 16 on the mineral line. You could, and you also look at your gas. You're struggling on the gas. So really, you should have 8 out of 16 on the mineral line and 6 out of 6 in these gases. And you should be taking another base, honestly. You should be like taking another base right now. Start another base. That's number 1. Number 2, you should be doing your mechanics. You should be using these queens to increase your creep spread. You are literally not doing any mechanics at all. And I would say this. The fact that you just broke that mothership. Here's actually the biggest thing. If you know how to read a game, you would know this. Like, in general. Like, when you feel more comfortable with it. The fact that he did the Void Ray attack to you here and you killed it. He threw away his advantage when he did that. That was really bad. So, if you're staring at your army, I would ask you why. Like, you're not actually, which is good. But if you were, if you're literally not macroing anything because you're staring at the army being like, I hope I win, I hope I win, I hope I win, this army is going to crush him, guaranteed, at least on this base, because he just engaged you here and threw his army away like a dummy. And then he threw his army away again right there with like 2 carriers and a mothership. Like, what the hell was that? This guy is super impatient. Like, after you saw both of those armies that got thrown away, you could honestly A-move this and micro nothing and you will break this base. As long as you reinforce it, which you are now. But if you macro really fast, you can reinforce it always faster. You really could. Now, if you were spreading your creep, you would only, all it would do for you is it would reinforce your reinforcements because it would make them get across the map faster because they have more creep to walk on. It would give you more map vision, which would make you feel more comfortable. It would give you more safe expansions, which would make you feel more comfortable. Because from this point on, every expansion you take is literally in the edge of fog of war. 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 If you had more creep, this would not be that way. Your creep could be like, you could be focusing on macroing and creep spread and just A-moving this base. That's the second thing you should be doing. Creep spreading. The mechanics of Zerg. The last thing you should be doing right now is while you know you're going to kill this base and you go into that sequence, Just drop like one changeling, just one changeling, and you should be doing with this one changeling. You can drop two, honestly, but I would say one of them is more important than the other. One of them can run up here, and he's not that important. Whatever, you can just see what's up here for next base if you want to go kill that. But the other changeling that's super important. Do you think? I'll give you a second to think about it. What? Think about it for just a second. What do you think it should do? Think about it. I'll move my camera to what it should do if you dropped it right now. Let's say you selected it. You should go like this with it. That's it. Go check and see if the Protoss is taking risky ass expansions while you're killing this one. Because again, the whole point of the game is to starve him out. And you by killing this base, that timer above his head that was 20 minutes now just went down to 18 because this is his last expansion, which was earlier than this one. So it means he's going to run out of money now faster. And if he's taking risky bases over here and this base is really fortified, don't fight the fortified base. Go kill the risky bases, the ones that are not fortified, and make sure he doesn't get sneaky bases up on you. Because if you do something like kill this base and then run into this base and throw your entire army away and just allow him to have two expansions over here, +8/+8, he just gets more time in his production when you could have denied it. And all you're doing right now is you're just like, I feel like tunnel visioning a bit. You're not fixing your economy that much.
Mineral field depleted.
I'm glad you put saturation on that gas, though. I'm really glad you did that gas, at least. But, like, oversaturated still, oversaturated still, oversaturated still. You're not fixing your economy nearly fast enough. And now what are you going to do with your army? If you just walk here, I'm not liking it. I would have loved it if you would have scouted first. And I would have really loved it if you would have scouted here. Let's just see really quick if your opponent is taking risky bases. Yes, he is. So if you lose the fight right here, which you might, you just give him a free base again. Does he even have Storm? Do you have Storm, dude? He does. Okay. I was just curious. Like, he does not like using it. No energy? He has the energy. 78, 79, 79, 79, 79. He had it when he backed off. Watch this. Okay. He has it in 1 second. But he backed off way too far. Like, he's literally letting the Nexus die. Is my point I'm trying to make here. It's fine. It's just kind of like not good micro.
Swarm forces under attack.
Like, if I were you as a Zerg player, I would literally be like, focus fire this fucking Nexus and then just back up. And there's not even a need to fight this army right now. He's giving you the Nexus. You might as well take it. Yeah, I feel like you just don't really understand the game plan of, like, killing the economy. You're not really doing anything to... You're not playing this game at all for economy control. You're really not. And if you just have that idea in the future, it's not even just Skytoss that works like that. It's all builds. But builds that are tech expensive, they get fucked over even more by playing this way. If you control someone's build in terms of their money that is doing something that is really expensive, they're not going to have much of what is expensive, and it's going to be really easy to kill it. And against Storm in general, the way you have to micro against Storm, I'm just going to explain it really fast, and I don't expect you to do it. Predictive micro is what it is, okay? That's how you beat Storm, by the way. You don't get stormed and then move out of it. That is not what you do. The way you counter Storm is you look at where the Templars are, and you can predict how far range he is away to storm you. If I were to tell you, put the green little mouse cursor where you think the Templar can storm you at, what would you say? Would you say it's like right there? Would you say it's like right there? Would you say he can storm you from way the fuck over here? All of those are obviously wrong. If I had to guess, I'll stop the mouse now when I think he could storm you. If he was going to storm like right on the center of your army right here, his Templar could be right about there. That right there, this little green box, is right about where a Templar would need to be to storm the center of your Roach Hydra right now, which is like right there. It's about a 7 range cast or so. It's literally like if you wanted to storm the center of this Roach, he could do it from about that far away. Like right here. The edge of that line of the green box. They have more range than that. For feedback, they do. For feedback. For storm, no, they don't. This is one of those things where people just don't understand. Watch. Look at the last fight. Ready? He's going to cast a storm. That's the Templar just cast a storm from right there. That storm was cast from about right there. Would you say that's about the same range I was giving you a second ago? I was saying from like right there to right there. Or it was more like this. Because the units were coming on the edge of the ramp. Like that. The Templar is literally storming right there, and it's storming right there. Like, look at the size of that box. It's about the same thing. Now, the point is, okay, the point is, if you are going to predictively micro against Storm, you have to understand the rough estimate of the range of how far it can be cast on you. And then as soon as the Templar is in range, look at the juiciest part of your army and pre-split it. That is predictive micro. So if I have a clump of Hydras like this, okay? Like right here. If I'm going to stop and fight right now. To fight the Interceptors, it's okay. To fight the Zealots, it's okay. To fight the Archon, that's okay. This Templar doesn't have enough energy, or it does actually. So, I mean, yeah, it has enough energy to storm, and if it does have enough energy to storm, you know what needs to happen? Where am I going to get stormed? I would say, from the path the Templar is on, from the path the Templar is on to the juiciest location of storm, what do you think that's going to be? I think that's going to be right there. I think he's going to storm right fucking there with that Templar. So if I was playing this game, what I would do, if I was doing predictive micro, I would take this chunk of my army and I would move it a little bit to the right to then open up an area where this part of my army could walk back a little bit. So this army goes right, this army goes down, and I would go like this. I would just literally, here's the camera, I would do that literally with my army. Because if you just move the part down, if I was like, hey, you, move down, and they have to go through a little tiny fucking choke point right there, that's really bad. That's a 1 unit at a time is going to be able to go through that, and the storm is going to do like full damage still, because it's going to take forever. It's going to be like a little hourglass, and you turn it upside down. It stays up there forever, and it slowly trickles down. So moving out of the way, and then moving down out of the way of the storm. Now, if I had to guess, I would say a storm is probably going to come out of that Templar within about 1 to 2 seconds from now. So predictive micro would have been, let's get the fuck out of that storm before it happens, because it logically will happen there. So you rotate around it. And as you get more surface area to get the fuck out of there, you can split. This is hard to do. This is not easy. But if you're going to keep going Hydras and you allow Protoss to be rich, you have to micro like this. Otherwise, you're just going to die.
cluster expended.
So now, like I said before, you killed this base, but you allowed him to have a free base up here. This base should be done right about now. So that sucks for you because you actually have no lead. Like what you feel like you did there, what you capitalized on was irrelevant. All you really did was you killed a Nexus and a couple gateways. Like after he threw his armies away, you killed a Nexus and a couple gateways. And then you threw your army away while he just built a new Nexus over here. So ultimately you ended up being in the negative again. You ended up in the negative again because you're not starving him out. It's okay to be in the negative if you starve him out, but you're not. So you're not only in the negative in terms of starving him out because, or sorry, you're in the negative in terms of resources lost, but you're also in the, this guy doesn't make enough probes, honestly. So that's good for you. But you should also be in the negative, I would say, on your macro, like your income overall, because you're allowing this guy to have still a nicely saturated 5 base. And 5 base Zerg versus 5 base Protoss is scary for Zerg because Zerg is like, even though I'm not saying you should have like 100 drones if he has 80 probes, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is you should have more bases than he does because you should have more gas than he does. Like you just, this army becomes harder and harder to deal with. Just, yeah, throw it out there and say that. Gas is pretty important for you. And if you don't have enough of it, you're going to start having to do shit like remake into roaches again, which is god awful right now.
Vespine mineral. Mineral field depleted.
Now you're going back into Corruptor. Corruptor are only going to work if you pair them with something that can kill the Templar and the Archon, which is, in my opinion, Broodlord for you right now. And like, this is that shit that fucks you, man. You're going 2-2 now. You're going, like, you didn't even start. Okay. Oh, I love you, man. Dude, you didn't even start 1-1 on your Evo chambers. You didn't even start it until your level 1 Carapace was done. And then now you're going on 2-2, almost done Evo chamber upgrades, and now you're just starting Carapace again and going back into Corruptor. Like, you gotta fucking kind of pick a plan and stick to it. You're never gonna win bouncing around like this. Because you're always going to have upgrade disadvantages. And you're never going to, like, starve the... You're never going to have a realistic army that is going to be strong enough to punch a hole in the Zerg's... in the fucking Protoss's defense. Like, ever. Like, your army being level 1 Carapace right now is very, very garbage.
Mineral cluster expended.
I'm glad you found this base. Honestly, you're repathing your units, like, right there, though. I honestly don't think you even thought about scouting this base. But you just happened to run past it. You know what you should be doing right now again, as you kill this base? You should be grabbing a Changeling or a Zergling now and going like this. Now, this one's very unlikely. Your creep should be here too. Like, dude, your creep has not moved ever. Your creep is just, like, untouched. You gotta get better on creep spread. Your mechanics are... just being totally neglected. And Zerg is definitely going to feel like crap if you have no vision anywhere ever. But I bet you anything, there's a good chance, it's not guaranteed, because I don't know how, this guy has not really impressed me this game either, but there's a good chance that if this guy has no intentions of saving this base, that he's taking another one somewhere else. So, and then this is just a, like, if you never scout it, cool, he gets a free base. But if you eventually kill it, I guarantee he's taking another one somewhere else. So, it's very likely. You have to think about that. Like, he's going to try to make money here, and if you can starve him out of that by always playing the game of don't let him have bases, that's how you should play it. So let's see what you do here. If you just run right at that base and throw your army away again, and you don't even check this base either, I'm going to be like, you're too impatient. Okay, you do at least check this base, and there's nothing there. But if you run at this base now, I disagree again. Because really quickly, let's watch. Let's see if he's doing what I just said. He didn't even try to defend this, which means he might just be waiting to defend a more fortified base, and he might be taking a new base again where he just was. You are letting him play you a lot by not abusing this. Yeah, you're super dead. It's really hard to deal with this kind of an army in the first place. And the level of micro required from a Zerg player is quite high to deal with it. And you're not giving yourself the right tools to deal with it either anyways. Like going half Corruptor, half Roach Hydra Zergling is never in any world ever going to beat Skytoss like this. It will never win. Ever. You need to have something that can deal... If you're going to go Corruptor, you have to have something that can deal with the Archon and the Templar once they exist. If you go Corruptor early, when he rushes Skytoss, you can prevent him from getting to Archon and Templar because you can keep resetting the Skytoss by starving it. And every time he tries to take it to the base, you just jump on his fucking carriers and kill them. With situations where, you, again, we're talking like you had like 30 Corruptors to his like 6 carrier. That's super realistic if you just focus on that. But again, that requires a good economy, which you did not have at all this game, in the early game. And you can't just be like, well, I have a good one now. It doesn't matter. Your fucking early game sucked. So you missed all your windows to punish him taking a third base. But even so, you still, this game, like that would be appropriate for a good Protoss player. This Protoss player, I would not describe him as good because his third base was still punishable if you just moved your roaches out. You never did, though. You just let him have a third. And then you let him have a fourth. Like, you let this dude have way too much money for too long. And I would say just judging off of your macro... Oh, not your macro, sorry. Judging off of your micro. Like what we just watched in those last couple fights. What you should do, honestly, is you should do 3 to 4 base Roach Hydra denials of bases. Like, you go 3-4 bases and you just fucking deny his expansions. Do not let him have a third, and if he manages to sneak one out, never let him have a fourth base. I would say it is acceptable for you to let him have a third base, but you could deny it though if you play well. But it is still acceptable if he takes a third base. But if you let him have a fourth base and you're going Roach Hydra, you should feel like you already lost the game. Because you will, if it gets to this point. So you need to be way more assertive about pressuring your opponent. I feel like you're just getting, you're just confused. But again, it's all about economy. Starve him, and you'll find the game is so much easier. And but again, you're dead now. There's no way you win this game. Because your army has been reset. And what are you doing now for composition? You're going back into Corruptor Ling. This is never going to work. It's never going to work unless... This is what you should be doing right now, okay? Again, this is what you should do. You're dead. So, this is a risk. If he attacks you, you die. What you should do... you should have already, by now, by 17 minutes... You should have had a Hive by now. You should have had a Greater Spire by now. And you should have... You could then go into Broodlords. So, and the fact that you don't just means that, again... You're super far behind. This is not acceptable. Like, if you're going to go fucking Corruptor style against Protoss, you should have a Hive by like 10 minutes. If you're going to go Roach Hydra style against Protoss, Skytoss, whatever, you can have a Hive by like 11 minutes. That's okay. 10 or 11 minutes, though, is an appropriate Hive. 17 minutes and you haven't even started one yet is a ridiculously late Hive. But the only way you're going to win against his army is if you have Broodlords. Mixed in, like, we're talking about like maybe 6 or 8 Broodlords, anywhere between 6 and 8 Broodlords, mixed in with some a lot of Corruptor and some Overseer, because he's gonna have a mothership again. And then the Broodlord kill all the Templar and the Archon, which allows the Corruptor to not get just AoE down by Archon Templar. Because if you engage his army with Corruptor sitting there and on top of Archons and Storm, you're just going to lose all your shit.
Mineral field depleted.
And if he pushes you, if this is a full-on attack, you die. There's no way you win. Yeah, he's pushing you, which like it seemed like he was going to do that, right? Because there's incentive for him. There is nothing but incentive for him to do this anyways, because he just killed your last army. So why would he sit there if he's maxed out almost? Like, this is actually an appropriate attack from the Protoss. So that, again, he wouldn't have attacked you, though, if you would have just rotated around and killed the other expansion, and then not fought him and went for Hive, and went, fuck, he has Templars and Archons, I need Broodlord, and made that your focus. Because all that's going to happen right now, if you engage him, is you're going to fly into Storm, you're going to fly into Archon, and you're going to fly into overwhelming amounts of carrier damage, and all of your Corruptors are going to die.
Hive cluster under direct assault.
You just got to get a game plan, man, and stick to it. And I really think you should stick to the game plan of trying to never let your opponent have a third or a fourth with Roach Hydra. For now. But if you're like, no, I don't want to do that. Well, I already explained everything else too throughout this game that you could do Broodlord style with Corruptor Ling as well. The whole point, if you can go Corruptor Ling against Skytoss before he has Archons and Templar. As soon as Archons and Templars exist, you cannot stay on Corruptor Ling anymore unless you're literally camping his base. And every time a fucking carrier spawns, just insta-dead. That's the only way that would work. That's the only way that would work. Because if he actually has a standing army like this and you're still just on Corruptor Ling, you're definitely going to die. Definitely going to die. Yeah, I hope it makes sense. You really need to play more of the economy-focused game. And again, like I said before, this game would have felt a lot better for you too if your economy in the start of the game wasn't garbage. Your economy, like your own build, your opener, I see zero purpose as to why that was good. Like your 17 pool into gas hatchery, then Roach Warren right away after the pool was done. I don't understand that build. Like, it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. Because, like, what happened is you attacked your opponent at 4 minutes with 4 roaches. And what happened was 1 Stalker and 1 shield battery was enough to kill you. And then he warped in a couple more Stalkers as you were there and you ran away after you lost, like, 2 roaches. And you didn't kill anything. And all that build did was it fucked you over so bad. So get a standard build again. Like, use one we've talked about before, possibly. Just use a build that's good economically early for the first, like, 6 minutes of the game. At least. And then, if you scout Skytoss like you did, your scouting was great. You scouted the 3rd and the 4th base with that Overlord there. And you scouted Skytoss right as it was happening with your Overlord that scouted into his base. Those were great scouts. You can react to it with Corruptor Ling or with Roach Hydra right off the bat. But stick to whatever you pick. Don't bounce around. And stop being so aggressive. If you go Corruptor right away, don't fly into his base with like 10 Corruptor and kill a fleet beacon. Kill his air units. And only fight. Here's the golden rule of as well. The final tip. The big one. Only engage his army if you have enough Corruptors to one-shot his units. One-shot. If you don't one-shot his units, and on top of that, if you don't focus fire, holy fuck, don't do that. But if you don't one-shot his units, you should not be attacking him. The only time it would ever make sense if you can't one-shot him is if you had like 13 Corruptors versus like 2 carrier. Which, if you're not one-shotting him, then it doesn't matter because he has like no DPS there. Because that's not enough carrier. You have to realize 3 Corruptor is the same as 1 carrier, supply-wise. And that's always scary if you fight that. So if you had like 2 or 3 Corruptors fighting 1 carrier, that's not the most ideal situation for a Corruptor, unless you're in the middle of nowhere and it's literally just like 3 Corruptor versus 1 carrier. But if you're like fighting him as well over cannons and stalkers and whatever, do not fucking fight him with 3 Corruptor versus 1 carrier and like 2 cannons and a battery and whatever. That's a fucking horrible idea. And that's always going to happen if you fly into his base. It takes, honestly, I would say a good number of corruptors to have before you really want to find a Protoss's base is like 20 plus. Like 24 corruptors. Because 24 corruptors will do... that's like roughly like 520 damage or so, including armor on the carrier. Like he'll do a little bit over 500 damage with 24 corruptor. Like 24 corruptor will practically one-shot a carrier, and it will definitely one-shot a Void Ray. But then you also have to account for the fact that what if you lose a corruptor here and there while you're doing that? So 24 is a nice number overall to like always have a, like you're gonna have a good healthy chunk of corruptor to initiate with, and it's not even like 24 is like the good amount. That's like the bare minimum. Like you should have like 30, like we said again a few times already in this analysis before this. Like 30 corruptor is great. That's super good. You're going to lose a few corruptor here and there, and you're still going to always be one-shotting carriers. But yeah, you got to just get a plan, stick to it. Anyways, I hope this helps you, IFEC. I hope it helps, dude. Starve your opponent out, pay attention to the economy, and this will never become really a problem. You could have honestly played the base game here, and you could have starved this dude out. But thank you for submitting this. I do appreciate it. I hope it does help. I know I'm kind of like, informative, and sometimes it sounds like I'm brutal, but I feel like I really have to be, because in StarCraft 2, guys, you can't make mistakes the higher level you go. You cannot make mistakes. Every time you get a little bit better at StarCraft, the game allows you to make less mistakes. Otherwise, you're just gonna die. And I'm seeing so many mistakes this game that are going to make you never advance as a player. So if you fix those, the game will feel much better. And I tried really hard to obviously lay them out as to what is happening, why it's a mistake. But yeah, it's how the game works though. You can't just make 500 mistakes and be like, I'm still Grandmaster. That's not how the fucking game works. Anyways, thank you for doing it, IFAC. I appreciate you, man. I hope it helps. And guys, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Until then, take it easy. Thank you for watching, and good luck. Peace, guys.